Hello, hello, hello out there. Happy Monday, y'all. Welcome to Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. I'm so excited. This is week 2. Excited about all that I'm going to share with you tonight. Our topic tonight is You Will Wait. And while I wait for some ladies to come on in so you guys can see that I'm live, give you a couple minutes. Let me play my theme music. This is actually the theme music for the podcast. Podcast episodes are at amplifyourbrilliance.com. As I come in every Monday to give you something that will go with those conversations of the podcast. Come on in, come on in. Let's talk about how we're going to amplify you in 2021. And as you come in, tell me name and where you're joining from. Let me get the video up over here. I almost forgot. Tell me name and where you're joining from. You know, this is my iPad over here, you guys. So I don't have to look so up close to find your comments, right? Come on in, come on in. Tell me where you are. Those of you that are joining me live, listen, if you're watching the replays, still tell me name and where you're joining from. I still want to know. I want you to comment. I want you to be active. I want to hear your insight. If I'm stepping on your toes, if it's an aha moment, if you're getting nuggets from what I share, I want to hear it all. Come on in, y'all. I see a few ladies have joined us, so post your name, say hey, tell me where you be in the world tonight. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So my goal is going to be here 30 minutes if I don't go off on a tangent on Mondays. And let me remind you, this is my second Monday. I will be here every Monday, God willing. And so it's my goal to really go hand in hand with my podcast episodes. So many of you know that on my podcast, Amplify Your Brilliance. Hey, Francesca, tell us where you are in the world. My podcast episodes, Amplify Your Brilliance, which airs the first Wednesday of every month. New episodes start in February. I do interviews. Every now and then I come in and do trainings, but the goal of Amplify Your Brilliance is to have behind the curtain conversations of women that are in the journey just like you. And I know you're in the journey because why would you be listening to me chat about amplifying your brilliance if you weren't, right? Orlando in the house. So I know there's more than Francesca here, y'all. So say hello. And I am talking to you that are watching the replay too. So last week I did this. I'm not going to do this every week, but I want you guys to understand what I mean by amplify your brilliance. So amplify is to expand by the use of detail, illustration, whatever, to increase the strength of or amount. Your brilliance is your greatness, the luster, that light in you. There's a Bible verse that says, let your light so shine among men and women. I added in women, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. That's Matthew 5:16, if I'm not mistaken. So that light in you, when it shines really bright, is that luster. So my goal, hey, Sarita in Memphis, my goal for you is that you shine so bright that it expands your territory. You guys get that? So I'm not here on Mondays for who you already are. My goal is to pour into you for who you have not yet become. So those of you that are meeting me for the first time, hey, Carrie. Carrie from my street back in the day, known me, Lord, for a long time. But anyway, for those of you that are coming for the first time, my name is Nicole Roberts-Jones. Let me introduce myself. And I am what many call the bankroll your brains expert. What I do is teach women. I'm really kind of the bridge between creating multiple streams of income from what you know to becoming the highest and best version of who God created you to be. See, that's business plus faith. I activate both because when God put you on this earth, he put you here on special assignment. And that gets us to our theme for the year, which is for such a time as this. And so last week I gave you a great overview. I'm not going to go back through the overview. If you missed last week's, go back, scroll through. You can always go onto my YouTube channel. YouTube channel is nrjnetwork.com. I did that, so it's easy to find. nrjnetwork.com is my YouTube channel. You can always go back and watch the replays there if you can't find it in my feed here in Facebook. And so I want you guys to get this. At the end of every year, I sit in quiet contemplation, praying, God, what do you want me to do this year? What's my theme? Look, I was praying for me. God gave me stuff for you. It was for all of us. And so, really, he claimed that 2021, or he told me that 2021 is off for such a time as this year, based on my favorite girl. Her name is Esther in the Bible. And so, continuing with that conversation from last week, our theme tonight, the subject I'm going to teach you from tonight is called You Will Wait. You will wait. And I really want you to understand this. I think waiting is one of the hardest things that successful women have to do. What I think is so interesting is you don't get to one level in your life and just stay there. God always has more for you. And what happens is when you're already successful on one level and God calls you to a next level, it's really, really hard, right? hmm And so what happens is because you've gotten to successful on this level, and I told you guys my story last week. I'm not gonna repeat it, but working in entertainment, when God called me into my own pivot and shifted what I was doing and literally pivoted my gift is really what he was doing. I didn't understand it then. But the one thing I had to do was a few things I'm gonna walk you through tonight. Because what happens is when God is pivoting you, which is what I believe 2020 was, it was a year of the pivot. It was a year of waiting. And the question is, what do you do when you're waiting? The question is, what do you do with the wait? So for me, I had to learn a whole lot of things because my success over here did not look like my success over here. My success in the entertainment industry, I kind of quickly, I was working on the hottest TV shows. I was doing great things. And when God told me to shift and do this thing called coaching, which in 1993, there was no such thing. I didn't know what to call this thing. And every time I tried to explain to one of my girlfriends what I was doing now, I was like, I stumbled through it because I couldn't explain it. There are four things I had to learn to do. So I'm going to walk you through those four things. But as Esther is our guide for this year, as I've studied Esther years ago, there are principles that I'm going to be teaching you throughout the year that I've learned that have helped me in my own entrepreneurial journey. So this is for you, whether you're an entrepreneur or a corporate woman, whether you work in a 9 to 5, these principles still will help you because again, God is always going to call you to another level. So I'm not talking to you if you want to sit in good enough and status quo and complacent, this is not for you. But if you are ready to expand what's possible for you, if you're ready to go after you abundantly above all you could ask or think, by the way, that's a Bible verse, Ephesians 3:20, that this is for you. Okay. So to give you a little context to our conversation, continuing with Esther. By the way, Esther is a short book in the Bible. How many books are in Esther? Esther is really not that long. Let me see if I can turn to it quickly so I can tell you. But of course, is my thing on Esther? No, of course it's not because I was reading something else today. Esther, here she is. So Esther is only, oh Lord, it's going to take me long because y'all looking at me. Esther is only, here she is. Esther is only 9 books, 10. And 10 is so short. Look how short the 10th chapter is right there. That's so short, that can't even be called a whole chapter, right? So Esther's only 10 chapters. So it's not a long read. I gave you a great summary. Again, if you missed week 1, go back and watch it. Okay. So this week, what the thing I'm highlighting is the thing that I love about Esther. So as you know from last week, I shared with you about how she became queen. I'm not going to go through that. But continuing with that conversation. So Esther was a Jew. Her uncle came and said, listen, your husband, the king, his homeboy, his right-hand man, has a plot out to kill all the Jews. It's interesting that God gave me this to talk about this week after what happened last week. I'm not going to go into that. But again, Haman, the king's right-hand man, and I can't say the king's name, so I'm never going to try. I am hooked on phonics. I think I was talking in that class, so I am so not good at phonetically spelling stuff out. so the king's homeboy, Haman, wanted to kill all the Jews. The problem is Esther was a Jew. The king didn't know his wife was a Jew. So her uncle said, listen, you've got to say something to your husband. And so it put Esther in a really hard place because she could go to her husband and say, listen, I'm a Jew. And he could say, listen, you lied to me, and kill her. Or she could say something to her husband and the plot could stop. So she had a hard decision to make. So this is what she decided to do in that moment. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through. Well, first, let me just say a couple things. So she said, listen, I'm so you go pray, you go tell all my people to pray, talking to her uncle. This is Esther. I'm going to tell all my handmaids to pray. We're going to fast and pray for 3 days. After she fasted and prayed for 3 days. Now, listen, I don't know how many of you guys would be anxious if somebody told me that they may kill all of my people and I can stand in the gap, just like David and Goliath, little bitty David. You guys, we all know we've heard the story of David and Goliath, but understand David was probably little like Webster. Those of you that can remember who Webster is and don't age me, Google Webster if you don't know who Webster is. He was really, really little. Let's say he was 12. He might have been younger than 12. Well, in real life, he was older than that, but the boy in the show, 12. Or Arnold from Different Strokes. I'm really aging myself now, right? Anyway, and Goliath was like the rock times 10. And nobody will fight Goliath. Nobody. The army, the navy, the Marines, nobody. But David said, I'll fight him. And that's the same thing Esther said. She said, if I perish, I perish. But she didn't act rashy. She didn't just go, let me go talk to my husband. She literally, with grace and ease. This is why I love her so much. You know, she really reminds me of a dancer, like an Alvin Ailey dancer. Have you ever gone to a play or gone to Alvin Ailey and seen dancers dance? See, when you see a dancer dance, it's fluid motion. And even when the dancer is standing still, a dancer could be dancing over here. They're not looking over there at that dancer. They're holding their pose, standing still until it's their turn. They feel the music. They're not like trying to look at the dancer. Can y'all see how I'm looking? You don't ever see dancers do that. And so they have this fluidity of motion. They're trusting their movement. They're trusting what they know. And so Esther reminds me of that because it was the fluidity of her faith and her trust that shifted everything. So I'm going to walk you through 4 things I know we all have to do when we're in the spirit of waiting. Now, let me explain to you. Waiting can look like this. You hate your job and you know you're not supposed to be there. And you God have put a business idea in you, but you can't quit. This was me, by the way. See, when I started my business, I had a daytime job. And I kept saying, God, I want to quit. But I had expenses. I had to be able to pay my mortgage. I had to be able to pay my light bill. I needed to be able to eat. And my business hadn't yet grown enough revenue for me to quit. So I had to do these 4 things I'm getting ready to walk you through. Woo, there were times that my boss acted a complete fool. And there were times I wanted to cuss him out. Let me keep it all the way real. But I kept thinking, okay, I want to honor him as unto God. I want to act like this, even though he's not God, let me be clear. I want to honor him as a child of God. So how can I honor him and not go Inglewood? Now, all of y'all that know me from back in the day, because sister girl could cuss you out like nobody's business. My hand on my hip. I ain't never had a fight because I could talk my way out of a fight. That's how bad I could cuss people out, right? I'm keeping it real. Never had a fight in my life. Okay. So I want you guys to get this. It took a whole lot of what I'm going to walk you through for me to stay. And can I tell you, because I treated him, what's that saying that Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high? I had to keep saying that over and over to myself. That stand wasn't out. I kept saying, okay, Lord, I want you to know I'm honoring you because, what he just did was not okay. As the only woman of color, as a part of this particular faculty at this school, I'm not going to say names, he was treating me pretty bad. And I kept praying about it. So do you know he got fired? But yeah, God hadn't given me my walking papers yet. Just kept having to pray and wait until the right time. And I'm going to tell you, when the right time came, I got an offer to buy out my company. So many of you guys know I work for a larger company. I didn't know that offer was coming, but there are times that we have to, number one, trust God. So sometimes, a lot of times, God is working behind the scenes that we can't see. So had I cussed that that director of my department out, it would have made my name bad in the industry. Right? Hey, Lisa, I see you. Had I done all the things I wanted to do, had I quit early, I would have been in struggle mode. And you can't build a business in struggle. Now, listen, it didn't matter that I was successful. When you don't have revenue coming in, you can't make money in your business and just go and think you're going to pay your bills immediately. It takes time to generate enough revenue to get there to be able to pay your bills. I'm keeping it real. I'm making 6 figures. Listen, I was making high 5 figures when I quit to start this thing, and I still had to have a side hustle because, listen, I didn't make that money up front immediately. And anybody that tells you that they are lying to you, or they do it. They might do it for 1 quarter, but I don't need you to make money 1 quarter. I need you to be able to do a quarter over quarter, month over month, year over year until you quit. So one, you've got to trust God. There's a Bible verse that says, this is Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, like the rivers of water. He turns it whatever way he wishes. You don't know what God is up to. You don't know what God is doing behind the scenes that you can't see. So in Esther's story, now this Proverbs 21:1, it doesn't say, by the way, I researched this and tried to find what king they were talking about. It doesn't it doesn't in anywhere say what king it was. And so this could be King Solomon, this could be King Saul. If you guys know all these stories in the Bible, and by the way, all the Bible stories are stories of history of our nation, of well, not, we're not. Look, it's not even from this country, but y'all know what I'm saying, right? So you've got to trust God. So two things you got to do when you trust God. And you know, how many of you guys have heard the saying, let go and let God? How many of y'all have heard that? Let go and let God. Nobody? Nobody's ever heard let go and let God? I know for years, as I'm waiting for you guys, people would say let go and let God. I had no idea what that meant. No idea whatsoever. And so what I had to learn was, how do I not depend on me? That's the letting go. I had to learn to lean on God. Thank you, Carrie. I had to learn to lean on God. There's another Bible verse. I got papers all over, by the way, as usual. That's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. That says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. So the thing that I think is interesting is when you stop trying to figure things out. This is what I mean by when God is calling you to something different, it's going to take a whole new another level of you that and you don't even know yet. And so when you're trying to use the tools, there's a quote by Bishop A.R. Bernard that says, the tools you've used on this level are not sufficient for your next. So if you keep trying to do the same thing you did over here, they won't work. And I know God does that. So you lean on him. And that's exactly what Esther said. She said, listen, y'all fast and pray, and we're going to fast and pray for 3 days. And obviously in those 3 days, the first thing that came to her was to have a party for her husband, not to go talk to her husband, which calls us to number 2, because timing is so important. And if you rush it, it ain't going to work. It's almost like when you plant a seed, right? How many of you guys have ever planted a seed? Sorry, I feel my bra falling and everything. And when you plant a seed in the ground, it doesn't grow immediately. You've got to go back and water it and water it and water it and water it some more and water it and water it. I call it going through see nothing days. So you got to go through see nothing days before you see anything at all. Same concept. So you've got to practice patience. Because baby, I want to get in there. I want to hurry up. How many of you guys listen? So many people think there's such thing as overnight success. Matter of fact, I have a funny story on this. So a couple of years ago, one of my best friends lives in Atlanta, and I was in Atlanta. I did a segment on the TV show Sister Circle. Y'all that remember this TV show that used to be on, it just got canceled. But it's on national TV, and it's on like ABC or NBC or one of those in Atlanta. So I was on the TV show. And my best friend who was hanging out with me for a day, we had a slumber party while I was there. We had such a good time. But anyway, one of her girlfriends that used to be a roommate has a restaurant in Atlanta. I'm all for supporting women, you know, especially Black women. So she had emailed, text my best friend. Her name is Carmonique. So I can stop saying my best friend Carmonique and said, hey, y'all should come through to the restaurant. So we go to the restaurant. Well, I go change, get comfortable because I had on a dress and Spanx. And I was like, I got to take these Spanx off so I can really eat at soul food restaurant. Hello, how many of y'all know what I'm talking about? So I changed my clothes. We go to the restaurant. We get to the restaurant. We're sitting, we're eating, we're chatting. And Carmonique's friend says, I'm so proud of you. How long have you been doing this? I said 20 at the time. I said 25 years. It's been 28. This year it'll be 28. I said 25 years. She goes, oh, I thought you were going to say 2. There's no such thing as overnight success. I've been working on this for a long time. I've been learning and growing, but I'm sharing that with you because patience builds character. There's a Bible verse that says, be anxious for nothing. What is that? Philippians 4:6. And the thing that I think is interesting is I looked up the word anxious because many of us get this thing like this dream or this desire. God drops a vision in your spirit and you want it overnight. God doesn't work like that. Matter of fact, I think God makes it hard sometimes just so you can trust and believe him, just so you can lean on him and not your own understanding. And sometimes that means, listen, there's a Bible verse that says faith without works is dead. So you can pray about it and pray about it and pray about it, but God still wants you to be about it. Hello. So You've got to practice patience, right? So, second part of this Bible verse. So, Philippians 4:6 says, "Be anxious for nothing." But if I read the whole 6 and 7, again, it's Philippians 4:6 and 7, it says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving." Now, with prayer and supplication, I believe that means pray about it and then just start thanking God that it's already done. Just start thanking God it's already done, right? Let your request be known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and minds through Christ Jesus. So I know when I feel anxious, if I just pray about it and let go, that's that let go and give it to God. When I feel anxious about, oh, listen, I'm not yet where God showed me that I'm going to be in my business. I'm keeping it real. And I want to be there like yesterday because he showed me the vision in 1995. I'm getting there. I can see where God is leading. I can see what God is doing. But if I get in my way, I mess things up. If I try to do what Nicole knows to do, I mess things up. Matter of fact, there's a piece I'm working on in my journey, and I felt led to email someone, so I did. I did not know she was going to introduce me to somebody that could help with this next piece I'm working on. I ain't gonna tell y'all yet. I'll tell y'all when it happens, right? This information is so timely. I finally gotten started in my business. Now I'm in a holding pattern. Couldn't figure out why. Yes. And sometimes that holding pattern, Francesca, is because you need more information. I'm gonna talk to you about that in a minute. Okay. So you've got to be patient. You've got to stick with it. You can't give up. I know so many people that start businesses and they think, oh, it's not working. No, you're watering a seed. It's called seed time and harvest. You've got to be patient. It is he that endureth to the end that gets the gift. Not he that waits for a week or 2 weeks or a year. You got to stay with it. Only if you know it's your purpose. Only if you know it's the thing that God has called you to do. Only if you think that you are here on this earth to do. Why would you quit? See, God doesn't change his mind. He doesn't. Why are you changing yours? You got to be clear and uncompromising. Love Esther for that. So one, you got to trust God. Two, you got to practice patience, right? And the other thing that I call it placing your order. Now, listen, I'm on my cheat days, and those of you that have been in my community for a while, you've heard this concept. On one of my cheat days, and when I go to McDonald's, don't judge me. I still eat McDonald's, not all the time, but on a cheat day. And I go up to the drive through window, and I order my fillet of fish. I place my order. I don't wonder if they have the special sauce that I love. I don't wonder if they have the bread that I love. I don't wonder if they have the cheese. I don't wonder any of that. I don't even ask. I place my order and then I go up and receive it. That's what being anxious for nothing means. That's what trusting God means. That is how you literally flow through life with grace and ease, trusting that God has your back, that God has your best interest at heart. You know, it's funny. My husband and I sometimes we're going through things, and I'll go, whatever's meant to be shall be. He goes, oh, here you go. I'm like, watch it happen if it's meant to be, and then it always blows him away. How I'll be, and then it'll happen. He's like, well, how? I said, because I've learned that if it's in my spirit, that's God, and all I can do is trust Him because it's gonna be better the way He does it than the way I would ever do it. And I've seen Him do it so many times. Matter of fact, me meeting my husband was better than I could have even have imagined. So with that, moving into number 3, because I told you I'd be 30 minutes. I'm about to go over. I talked about this. I can't remember if I talked about this last week, but there's a concept I teach my clients, which is be, do, have. And so many of us focus on, of course, we want to have certain things, right? We aspire to some things. There's nothing wrong with you having ambition. Even in the Bible, it talks about having healthy ambition is a good thing, just as long as it's not for the wrong reasons, right? And so many people focus on what do I need to do to have? What do I need to do? But we leave out the be part. So the formula is be, do, have. See, we're human beings, but really we're not. We're actually human doings because we focus on do. So when Esther invited her handmaidens to fast and pray, she was inviting them to be. I believe that Esther got her direction of what to do next because she sat in her being. So this is my invitation to you for this year. This is why I'm giving you a journal, and I'm going to give you a journal entry for today. Every week, I'm going to give you journal work because I really want to help you grow your being muscle. Because without the being, you won't get to the have because then you won't know what to do. Hello. So you don't know what to do with the level you're already on. Again, I'm not coming for where you already are. My goal is to go after you abundantly above all. That's how you amplify your brilliance. Y'all get that? So you've got to sit in your being at least 20 minutes at night. I know I've learned to have my being time. I'm in the bathtub. I love it. I turn on a sermon sometimes. Sometimes I while my bath water is running, I sit with my journal right before I get in the bathtub because my water runs forever. I think God lets my water run forever just so I can have. You know what's interesting is meditating is talking and praying is listening. Well, I've learned the best way for me to meditate is writing. It's sometimes I'm writing and I can feel like God is coming right through my hand and I write stuff out and I'm like, ooh, that's deep. And I know it's God. It's amazing to me. But you've got to invest that time so that God can speak to your soul. And that's the one thing, not one thing, that's one of the things I love about Esther. Okay. So number one is trust God. Y'all know I have notes because I can talk. Look, I've been teaching this for how many years? So I can teach for 96 hours straight. So I want to make sure that I stay focused. So one is trust God, two is practice patience, three is being. And then once you do all of that, then you got to take action. You got to take action. Now, here's the other thing that I see so many women, this is where fear comes in. So, fear is a scary thing. And I know I'm going to teach on this at some point this year. So, I'm not going to go deep in it. But you got to do it afraid. Because if what you're doing is bigger than where you are, if you've never done this before, it's going to be scary. So, for Esther, oh, wow, I thought I was the only one that did the writing meditation. Me too, right, Carrie? So, listen, if Esther was going to go before her husband, you think she wasn't scared? Because again, she could die. So the couple things she did was she trusted God, she sat patiently and she prayed until God gave her direction. And when God gave her direction, she took it. She invited her husband to a dinner. At that dinner, I'm sure God must have dropped in the spirit to invite her husband to another dinner. I do not believe she was procrastinating. She was following direction, right? See all this hair looking crazy. And so literally got to the first dinner, she invited her husband to a second dinner. Now, keep in mind, she could have been killed for inviting her husband to a dinner. You don't go into the king and ask for anything. So even that was a faith walk. Invited her husband to a second dinner. At the second dinner, he said, "My queen, what do you want? This is so phenomenal. What do you want?" And she said, "I want to invite you to a third dinner." Had a third dinner. Then at the third dinner, she felt that it was time for her to make her request known. And she told the king, "Listen, I'm a Jew. I know you don't know that I'm a Jew, but I am. And your homeboy, Haman, is trying to kill my peeps. And I'm going to ask you to do something about it." Now, again, he could have killed her because a queen was never to become Jew. And here she is, his queen. And listen, the queen before her got dismissed just because she didn't want to come and parade herself in front of his homeboys. See, so this is a whole lot more than that. And so what happened in that moment is God stepped in. Remember, I read the Bible verse a few minutes ago. Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Like the rivers of water, he turns it whatever way he wishes. And so when you wait on God's time, God is going to line things up in ways you never could have imagined. I've seen how God has lined up my husband is a lineup from God. Listen, I had a horrible breakup literally the day before, done with man. I prayed, Lord, I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna just serve you for the rest of my life. And I had already started doing this work when I'm with my husband, right? So I prayed, okay, Lord, I'm done. I'm just gonna serve you. I'm gonna be good. And literally the next day, what I didn't know is my best friend and her husband at the time, they're not together anymore, were talking and pulling us together. What I didn't know, I met my husband 2 years before with my then boyfriend. And when I met my husband, I felt it when he touched my hand because he shook my hand to meet me. I felt something in my spirit. I'm not a cheating woman. I don't feel things when I'm dating somebody else. And I was like, whoa. And my husband told me he felt the same thing. 2 years later, our best friends pulled us together. That all was God. Because had I dated my husband before, I wasn't ready. Neither was he. So you've got to trust God in all things. You've got to understand God has a timing we can't see. You got to understand there's seed time and harvest. And so my goal for you this year is to really, really take hold of your being time. To take hold of as you're growing this great vision of this thing that you want, that I believe God wants for you. Because listen, I believe God puts the desires in our hearts. All we got to do is be bold enough to pray about it, to trust God's timing, and then do the work to go and get it. And I'm gonna tell you, listen, every time God has put something in my heart to do or be, it's required me to do things that I would have never done, like hire a coach. Listen, my coach cost 30,000 at a time I wasn't making any money in my business. I had to trust God. And so my question to you is what can you do in the next week to learn to shift your being a little bit, right? And I'm saying a little bit because if you just do a little more every week, you'll get used to this thing called being, right? So I will put the journal. So this is this week's journal. So I'll always give you a journal entry every week because I want to encourage you. And listen, when I give you one for the week, I do that because here's what happens. If you sit with the questions I ask you, you're going to notice the things that come up for you all week long. And as you do that, it helps you begin to study this thing that you're doing. So this week is learning to wait. So what is it that you're being patient with? For me, I'm trying to be patiently losing weight. Hello, and not eating all the stuff I want to eat. Woo! I got some, look, I have some tea right here now because I needed something other than this water because I was getting bored. I was like, what else can I drink? Tea. But I have to do the work if I want the results. And that requires patience and endurance. And so the same is for you. So I know that's a small example, but nevertheless. So I will put your journal for this week in the brilliancetribe.com. That's my Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group called Women of Brilliance Tribe. If you're not a member, this is my invitation to you to join. Go to the brilliancetribe.com. And yes, you got to answer the questions. I do that because I want to keep it safe. I want to make sure we're only letting women in. Number one, sorry, fellas, but this is for the ladies. And I really want it to be a sacred space for you to grow that brilliance in you, to awaken to it, to amplify it, and then to bankroll it if you choose to start a business. And so, with that said, any questions, thoughts about this week? How many of you guys have already been journaling or sitting and having some being time? I call it work, pray, slay, because you got to work, you got to pray, and then you slay, right? So, the pray is the being time, the work is the doing, and the slay is the having. So I want to hear from you. I want you to comment as you guys are doing this work this week. I want to hear aha moments. I want to hear what comes up for you because I want to support you. I want to support your growth. I want to see how I can really, really allow these times, these 30-minute quick conversations with you on Monday, how I can help you really add to what you're already doing. And if I could be of support to you, I've been trying to start my day this way. Right. So if it doesn't work in the morning, Francesca, do it at night. Nobody says it has to be in the morning. Do it at night. Listen, I do it both. Yes, me, but I just realized I need more of it right. And listen, I do it at night and in the morning. I do a quick version in the morning. I do it a different way in the morning. In the morning, I usually sit, I have a devotional, I read that, and then I go work out. Sometimes I'll listen to a sermon. Sometimes I wake up at 4 a.m. and I listen to a sermon. Right, Yolanda. I love it. I love when I see my clients here. Hey, girl. So literally, give yourself, and if the morning doesn't work, do it at night. Listen, I've had to up my ante, so I do morning, night, and I do a afternoon. Because listen, if I'm going to serve at the level that I'm serving on, I've got to keep myself equipped. Listen, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you don't take the time to pour into you, so listen, if I kept pouring out every Monday, every Thursday, every day as I'm coaching my clients, I keep pouring out, this cup will be empty. It's not empty. It's some tea in there. Can y'all see that? I don't want to spill it on myself. If I keep pouring it out, it'll be empty. You got to pour back into you and pour back into you and pour back into you. The goal is that you serve from your overflow, that you don't even pour from your cup. How do you get to overflow? By pouring back into you. That's why this time is critical. That's why I know God has upped mine because I'm giving so much. I love every minute of it. But again, you don't want to give from an empty cup. Hey, Levon, you don't want to give from an empty cup. And I want to encourage you to do that. So, very good tip. I love it. I have to discipline myself to do that right. And then listen, when things don't happen the way you want them to, you guys, when you notice that it's off or it's not working, stop and say, what's up for me right now? And look at why is it not working? Look at what is distracting you. So you can either remove the hindrance, or if it can't be removed, you do it at a different time or in a different way. Don't force yourself. Stop and look. That's being as well. The clearer you get on what's coming up for you and what's blocking you or what's keeping you from your abundantly above all. Listen, God didn't say abundantly. Listen, he said, I've come that you have life and have it more abundantly. He said you, that means all of us. He didn't just reserve abundance for Oprah and Warren Buffett and people like Jay-Z and Tyler Perry and whoever else you can think of. No, it's for all of us. I'm trying to go get mine. How about you? So my goal is to pour all that I can into you on these Mondays. All right. So with that said, please tell me the value you got out of today. And can I ask you to share this? Share this with, click below and click the share button, right? Go on. Those of you that are in my Facebook group, you can't share from the Facebook group. You've got to go on my business page, NRJ Enterprises with Nicole Roberts Jones. You got to share from there. Again, grab your journal. It's in the brilliancetribe.com. Somebody type that in for me. The brilliancetribe.com is where you go grab your journal. Oops, your journal entry for today. I'm great. Post it right now. And listen, when you go into the Facebook group, if you can't find it, just go to the files section, right? Lots, seeds. I'm watering seeds. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Y'all keep on sharing what you're getting. I read every single comment. Now, I may not be able to comment on every comment, but I do read every single comment. Also, those of you that join my Facebook group, I got something special coming for you on Thursday. So, the last thing about taking action, I forgot to say this. So I'm doing something special starting next Monday. So those of you that know, like it's time for you to start taking action and really making the pivot that God is calling you to make. I'm doing something special called Power in Your Pivot Week. I have invited 9 phenomenal, powerful, successful women to share their journey, and it's all free. And I do this because I want you to hear from other women. All of them have gotten to their purpose-led lives in different ways. They've gotten to the highest and best version of who God created them to be, and all of them are still working on amplifying their brilliance, just like I am. And so I want to invite you to join me for this special week. It's all free. All you got to do is register. It will not be on Facebook. Powerinyourpivot.com is where you go register. So you get this insight. Plus, I'm giving you a Power in Your Pivot ebook to go with it. Now, I give you all of this in my goal, in my calling, to be honest with you. God put me on this earth to hold the space that you live as the highest and best version of who he created you to be. And so I'm doing all of this in my calling to do that. So again, it's powerinyourpivot.com. You can learn more about it. You can learn more about the women that are joining me on the site. So with that, I'll be here with you Monday night at 7. Power in Your Pivot Week starts at 8 p.m. So you have a full hour next week, next Monday, and then it's all week, 8 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you can't make it live, the replay. Sorry, I got a text. The replays will be available for you. All right. So with that said, have a phenomenal rest of your week. Please share. Let's get as many women as we can to really amplify the brilliance inside of them so that, listen, can you imagine what this world would look like if all of us were living as the highest and best version of who God created us to be? My mission is to get to 1 million women, and I can only do that with your help. So share with your tribe. I'll see you Monday for week 3 of Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. Have a phenomenal rest of your week. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.